are pulling the clutch here on this Prairie 400, and I had to get a bigger impact, a 1/2 inch impact, and was able to pull that clutch off here. This just runs in, pushes against the crankshaft, and pulls this clutch off. So we are finished with this puller. Going back together, you don't need any kind of special tools. It's just tapered on there, and then the clutch is tapered as well, so it stays on there and doesn't move. So we're going to flip this to the other side, and we're going to go ahead and pull the flywheel. Tip it up so we can see it a little bit better here. We'll probably have some oil coming out there, but got a lot of 8mm running all the way around there. Go ahead and pull all those. Here, we'll pull your oil pump first. Water pump. Some of those bolts, like this one here in particular, goes all the way through, and you won't be able to pull the stator, the flywheel, without pulling at least this bolt, possibly this one as well. Alright, looks like we have all those bolts off. I'm going to pull this water pump cover here. And there's going to be an impeller inside of here that we'll remove. Here's your water pump cover. This is your impeller. That's a 10mm bolt. And very carefully you can remove that. There'll be a seal and stuff in behind there, so just be careful you don't damage it pulling it off. But that seal kind of holds this impeller on there pretty snug. But you don't actually have to pull this off now. You can do that later, kind of push it out from the other side. So we'll go ahead and pull this stator. Here's your inspection cap that you use when you're checking valve clearance. And we'll see those marks on the flywheel when we pull it off. Okay, what I like to do on these is just take and put pressure, pull up just a little bit. It doesn't take much, and then just kind of tap, trying to find a good spot to pull up on. But a lot of times if you can put some pressure up, that'll just kind of break that seal. That seal is broken. Now when you're pulling this apart, try to find an area where it's not going to damage it if you put a screwdriver in there. But also at the same time, there will be quite a bit of pull on it, because that flywheel assembly is magnetic. So it will take some pressure. You just want to make sure you're not in an area that's going to damage. Make sure you don't turn your screwdriver or twist it in a way that's going to cause damage. Leave one in there. We'll grab another screwdriver here. Do the same thing on this side and just kind of walk it out. These are challenging because they've got idle gears on here. They've got the water pump. So just a couple more things to kind of hold you up. But won't want to reuse a gasket like this, obviously. Sometimes dowel pins will hold you up if they get rusty. And it looks like this is kind of the area where we're being held up. Trying our hardest not to score that. make any marks on that seal area. And just kind of walk it up out of there. There we go. Feel it kind of pop off of there. Again, lots to hold you up on this steel here. I guess the biggest part was probably that impeller there. A little rust in behind there. And there is your stator here. You've got your flywheel here. Your starter comes out right here. You got your idler gear here. Oil pump, which attaches to your water pump here. So we'll start tearing this stuff apart. You've got your flywheel here. That takes a special tool. It's a 35mm flywheel puller. You can get it from Suzuki, Kawasaki Motion Pro makes one, a little more reasonably priced. There's several other companies too. This will just back this out all the way, or quite a ways. And then we'll see if this is the right one. I've got a handful of pullers here I'm checking with. Doesn't feel like it. That's gonna be too big. There we go. All right, when you're doing this, you just want to make sure that that puller is completely seated all the way down. If you're just holding on to one or two threads, when you screw this down into onto the crank there, it'll pull those threads out. So you want to make sure it's completely all the way down. Find the right bolt for that, or the right socket for that. Run this all the way in. And it'll pull out just like that. So you kind of saw it pop there. If it doesn't come out, what I do is put a socket on the end. Exact same way I do the flywheel on the other side. Put a socket on the end, just take a hammer, tap it quick, and a lot of times that'll pull itself right out. So there's a flywheel there, and same setup as the other side. It's tapered, and so it's got pressure on it. You got your one-way gear here, one-way bearing here, and we've got your large gear here, large starter gear here. This is called a starter clutch sometimes, this assembly here. Sometimes they're sold together, different manufacturers do it differently. There's your flywheel there. Now, if you look here, here's your top dead center. So we've got a T for top dead center. Kind of a couple marks right here for other purposes, but the T is the main thing that you need. You've got your idler gear here. Here's your starter, clutch gear. And then we'll go ahead and pull this oil pump here, just a couple 8mm bolts. And then a 12mm bolt there holding that idler gear on. And this gear will have to come off before you pull that oil pump. There's the oil pump there. We'll keep all that together. Here's your part of your oil pump here, and this will just slide right out. Be really careful not to score that. It'll fall out if we were to tip that motor over, so I'll just try to pull it out now. And here's your front output shaft, and this is held in by a couple small Allen bolts. We'll see if we can pull that off quick. Sometimes these can get kind of rusty splines down in there, causing problems. So we might have to, we're gonna have to get a different set of Allen wrenches here. Oh no, this is it. So these Allen wrenches put pressure on a little ring that'll hold this on. Turn it, pull this next one. This is what you call a transfer gear or transfer gear housing. Here's a dipstick for that oil, output shaft, different names for it, but all right, 2 of those there, and we'll try to maybe tap it off of there. There we go, it's coming right off. So there's that output shaft there. And we'll probably pull that boot to make sure that that is in good condition inside there. I see there's a little rip in that boot there. So we'll go ahead and inspect that before we put it back together. We've got 10mm bolts around the outside here for this. We'll go ahead and pull that off. It's going to make quite a mess here. We didn't drain that oil. We'll probably have some spilling out the other side, but we'll go ahead and pull this right now since we're here. Missed one on the bottom there. So it looks like there's 6 altogether, and that'll just come right off of there. And there goes all the oil there. We should have drained that first. That's just engine oil. And since we're here, we'll go ahead and pull this starter off. And then there's another wire here. We'll get this off of there. There's your starter again. We'll test this before we put it back together. It spins freely, that's a good sign, but there's also, you want to test it with a battery. Clean that up really good. We'll pull this. This is called a transfer gear here. We'll go ahead and pull that gear. 22mm socket for that. These are a little more challenging. Holding it. Sometimes you can, the impact's the best thing to use. That way it goes quick, but wasn't expecting it to be that difficult. Try the air impact here. Again, making sure we're hanging on to it tight. And that pulled it off there. That's just regular threaded. It's not reverse threaded. So we will Slide this over, we're gonna tip this up again. We're gonna pull, well, you can pull these 8mm, but we'll go ahead and turn this motor over this way. And get into that centrifugal clutch area. A lot of 8mm bolts to pull on this side, and 10s. Two, 4, 5, 6, done 6 so far. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Just trying to get the 8mm. 13, 14. So 14 so far for the 8s. 15, 16, 17, 18. Now we'll go to the 10s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this one I had to get a smaller, skinnier socket to get down into. So I've got 8 10mm bolts, I've got 18 8mm bolts, and I see we've got a 14 here, and I wonder if we're getting close. We've got some on the other side, so we won't be able to, oh, here's another 10. So that's 9 10mm. I wonder if we won't be able to pull that cover quite yet. And this is just a tensioner here. You wouldn't have to pull that out. We'd pull it out eventually. But, all right, we'll go ahead and pull all these out. Kind of feel that loosening up there. Kind of got a hollow sound to it when it breaks free. So there we go there. That's pulling that cover off. And this isn't splitting the case. There's splitting the crankcase would be down the middle here. So we've got more things to pull before we get that far. But we've got to your transmission here, and we've got your cam chain right here, and there'll be bolts that we need to pull to get that apart. I'm going to clean up a little bit here.